I saw him the other day, saying that we have joined broad-based, trying to coerce this Senate, that, Mr. Speaker, I'm now in the side of the government, so I know when I go to the Senate, I'm going to be sent back home. So I'm asking myself those questions here today, Mr. Speaker. So the best thing is to go full throttle, Mr. Speaker. Let's listen, so that we can also take this opportunity. I have never met the governor of Nyamira. Let me see him today speak here. Let's ask those questions the people or the MCAs are asking, Mr. Speaker. But again, that is something I'm thinking about. I might be persuaded when we are done with the debate on this issue, Mr. Speaker. But what I would want to urge this Senate, let us withhold, let us follow the rule of the law when it comes to this process, because going forward, we could become governors, and we wouldn't want, Mr. Speaker, to be brought here by a speaker, probably, who wants to overthrow a governor. And Mr. Speaker, the law is very clear. It says once an impeachment is processed at the county assembly, the Speaker of the county assembly shall write to the Speaker of the Senate. Mr. Speaker, if you look at that, the wording of that, any speaker can go to any lodging, can go to any room, and just write that to the Speaker, either without the processes being followed, just himself, Mr. Speaker. So does that mean that anything the Speaker brings is gospel truth, that we can just process it without asking how they attained to that point, Mr. Speaker? So as I stand, Mr. Speaker, I'm thinking on how to vote, and you will call me there, and I will demonstrate how it's done, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Senator Osochi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, indeed, I want to support the comments in your ruling, that indeed looking at the circumstances of this matter and also looking at the Constitution, the threshold of 24 was not met. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the Constitution, Article 97, which talks about the membership of the National Assembly, and also Article 98 that talks about membership of the Senate, it gives you it implies that the Senate and the National Assembly, their membership is defined in the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, Article 177 that talks about membership of the County Assembly also implies the same. So you cannot say, Mr. Speaker, and I want to agree with the other members, that the membership of the assembly is a moving target. It can never be a moving target. But Mr. Speaker, that aside, I see there is a problem, Mr. Speaker, with this motion. And what I see is that at lunchtime, I listened to these members, and the mood was that the members wanted this matter to go to full hearing, so that we process the PO in the full case. But now the motion has decided, it is not giving us that option. It is either we agree to the PO or we reject it. Mr. Speaker, we have a danger here, because if this motion is passed as it is, it means now we go to full hearing. And in the full hearing, the matters that will arise, if they are substantial enough to compel this House to impeach the governor, then we will have a problem legally, Mr. Speaker. But at the same time, Mr. Speaker, if we process this matter as it is now and say yes, then it means we'll be debating, we'll be moving away from what we had improved on Kericho 1, which is called Kericho 2. So, Mr. Speaker, my wisdom tells me that we withdraw this motion or amend this motion so that to allow the members to make a decision whether they want to process the PO at this point, they go the Kericho 1, or they want to go Kericho 2. Because if we allow this motion as it is, and the vote is taken and is a no, Mr. Speaker, we will be creating a precedent which will be very difficult to heal. So I suggest, Mr. Speaker, that this motion be withdrawn or be amended so that to reflect what I know members are thinking about. Mr. Speaker, nevertheless, I support.
Senator Wafula.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa nafasi hii. Vile vile kushukuru walio wengi katika bunge kunipa nafasi kuongoza kitengo hiki. Lakini vile vile ni kusema kwamba Mheshimiwa Spika, katika kesi ya mwewe na kuku lazima haki iwepo. Unapomnyorosha mwewe atoroke, kuku lazima ukabiliane naye. Mbona alijisalimisha kwa mwewe, Mheshimiwa Spika? Mheshimiwa Spika, Wakenya wanatazama. Katika kesi ya Kericho tuliona wanateknolojia wa kompyuta na simu za rununu wakitueleza kule walikokuwa wapiga kura. Na pale maji yalipozidi unga, Mheshimiwa Spika, tukang'amua kwamba kulikuwa na utapeli wa hali fulani. Na wajumbe hawa wakachukua msimamo. Na baada ya kuchukua msimamo, Mheshimiwa Spika, bunge hili halikutoa mwelekeo kwa wale ambao walikuwa wanapotosha umma kwa stakabadhi gushi. Jumba hili lisiwe eneo la kutumbuiza Wakenya, Mheshimiwa Spika. Watu wameleta stakabadhi hapa, gavana nashukuru uko hapa, viongozi wa kaunti wako hapa. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi ni kuomba wote walioleta stakabadhi na kukiri walihusika wapewe nafasi wajisulubishe ama wajidinginize wenyewe. Na iwapo yeyote atapatikana kwamba anahadaa bunge la Senate kwa kusema kwamba alipiga kura na alikuwa ng'ambo, hata ninashangaa Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna wale hawajakuwa bunge miaka miwili na wamepiga kura. Lazima waletwe hapa, Mheshimiwa Kenya, waone hawa viongozi gushi ambao ni mashahidi bandia, kesi bandia, ili gavana pia jitetee akitoka hapa awe huru na huru kabisa. Na wale ambao watakabidhiwa na mashtaka pia wakabiliwe na mkono mkali wa sheria. Sasa hapa mimi sijui mbona watu wanaogopa kwamba tukienda kusikiza kesi hati gavana wangu huyu tayari kamba iko shingoni yake amekwisha. Hapana. Na sio kwamba tukiwapa hawa nafasi ni kwamba ni kama Muhammad Ali watakabiliana na gavana kabla hajangamua chochote atakuwa chini. Hapana. Ni kusema kwamba mchakato mzima uendelee. Tuone wale walio ukweli na wale waongo, na Senate ichukue msimamo ambao utaboresha usimamizi wa kaunti zetu. Sasa mimi naomba maseneta ambao tuko hapa, ni kama ule mchezo ambao mtu amepewa, ni mchezo wa Man U na Arsenal. Umefanya mazoezi muda mrefu, wakati mchezo unataka kuanza mtu anasema viatu havipo, kanuni hazikubali kwamba tucheze miguu bila viatu. Huu muda wote ulikuwa wapi kusema kununua viatu kuja uwanjani? Hawa wamejipanga. Sisi kama mashabiki.
What is your point of order, Senator Fomero?
La Seneti 105.
Take your seat, Senator Wafula.
Nataka Senator Wafula ambayo tumekabidhi uongozi jana kwa kiranja mkuu walio wengi hapa Seneti. Ametaja timu ya Arsenal ya kwamba wanafika kiwanjani wanasema hawana viatu. Mimi nimefuata timu ya Arsenal kwa muda mrefu sana, Bwana Spika. Na sijaipata hiyo siku ama nafasi kuwaona ati Arsenal walifika kwa kiwanja wakaanza kusema wachezi. Kwa hivyo lazima akipeana mifano yake apeane mifano halali na mifano ambayo anaweza dhibitisha. Na timu yake sijui ni gani, sijui nasikia ni hii gani ya mwisho hii. Ndio. So Bwana Speaker, lazima awe na ile tunaita kwa Kiingereza statement of fact. sababu kutaza timu kubwa ya Arsenali kwa kejeli hairuhusiwi kabisa.
Order, honorable senators. Nafikiri Senator wa Bungoma alikuwa anapeana tu mfano.
Mheshimiwa
tuachane na hiyo hoja, tumwache malize hoja yake tafadhali.
Nadhani kuna utapiamlo wa kufuata umantiki wa hoja zangu. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi ni kuomba tu viongozi wenzangu kwamba hawa wote wako huru kujieleza. Tayari tumeona pale palipo na shida, lakini tuwasikize. Mheshimiwa Spika, nimekuwa mwanachama wa kamati ya ugatuzi. Donda sugu hili la hawa watu kutengana katika assembly ya county hii hatujajadili hapa, tumekuwa tunapakata tu. Najaribu kutumia lugha nadhifu kidogo. Leo wamekuja hapa tena maseneta wanasema ati sheria haikubali, ati mkondo mfumo. Hapana Mheshimiwa Spika, tusiwe matapeli wa kisiasa. Leo wamejileta tukabiliane na wao, wajieleze, tuwasikize, tuwaulize maswali, aliye na hatia akabidhiwe. Lakini yeyote asiwe na wasiwasi. Hawa maseneta wana akili timamu, wamesoma, wanamcha Mungu na wanapenda haki. Mimi nawatakia kila laheri. Mheshimiwa Spika wenzangu, tuende njia ya kusikiza kesi. Na mimi naomba Gavana usiwe na shida.
Senator Olekina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this motion. Mr. Speaker, I have never been clear on my mind on the direction that I want to take as much as I'm clear today. You know, you can never bend the truth, Mr. Speaker. I was listening to the legal counsel for the Assembly, where they made a case that 2/3 is defined as 2/3 of the members present. When I look at the law has never been bended to a point where it defines 2/3 as the members who are present. The law is quite clear. It talks about 2/3 of all the members of the Assembly. Mr. Speaker, I was listening, and this has to be the issue that we must determine. Because before, Mr. Speaker, in this very House, we determined what 2/3 means. And we all came up with a conclusion that 2/3 for a human being will be a whole number. So, Mr. Speaker, I've also listened to an argument made by the plaintiff or the county assembly that the Senate votes by proxy, and that could not be further from the truth. Mr. Speaker, the Senate does not vote by proxy. Neither do county assembly vote by proxy. If you read Article 123 of the Constitution, it is the only house which is defined that it votes by delegation. Even in this own decision that we're going to make here, we have got to decide based on delegation, 24 delegation. So when we keep on dilly-dallying on these matters, Mr. Speaker, we'll be making a joke or a mockery of this House. Mr. Speaker, there is nowhere in the Constitution of Kenya, or even the law which is now guiding this impeachment process, because I'm still of the view that Parliament has not yet acted on Article 181(2), on coming up with a legislation that defined the impeachment process. But if we say we limit ourselves to the issues of Section 33 of the County Governments Act, there is nowhere that says that as a member elected by the people of Narok County, I can delegate my vote to the people of Kericho to be able to vote on my behalf. It is absolutely not possible. We can dilly-dally, we can pussyfoot, but the fact is, when it comes to appeal
we have to put it into a legal test. And the question to ask is this. In Nyamira County, what is the number that defines 75% of all the members elected in Nyamira County? Mr. Speaker, I was very happy to hear my colleague talking about a constitutional, like a constitutional target. There's absolutely no way, a moving target. There's no way that we can say that 2/3 shall be defined as a moving target. It is something which is clearly set. One of the things that was a bit confusing to me, Mr. Speaker, is that in this own house, if you look at our standing orders, and I believe it is standing order number 7, that talks about the elections of the Speaker. It talks about a Speaker being elected by all senators. Now, the question to ask is, when we were electing our Speaker, were the nominated senators in or they were not in? And what was all senators? So, Mr. Speaker, I'm very clear on my mind that 2/3 is 24, and the county assembly and the county governor has all attested that the people who voted were 19. Because I'm not going to vote, and the number that they brought, the county assembly brought the number of 23. So whether you call it 2/3, using the numbers that you want to create of the people present, the law is quite clear and you cannot bend it. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, because I see that my light is up, I think we have to ask ourselves whether we want to remain as a house that plays around with the law, or we want to be able to become a house that sets the precedent and sends a clear message. And this clear message, Mr. Speaker, will finally be set when we pass a law in this house that sets the prerequisites of bringing an impeachment process into this house. It must be.
Senator Kisang.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to oppose this motion, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in the Kericho 1 motion, in Kericho 1, Honorable Speaker, it was a clear day and light. There were 47 MCS in the Kericho County Assembly, but those who voted were 31, and the threshold was supposed to be 32, Honorable Speaker. In Kericho 2, Honorable Speaker, we, in our own wisdom, which I still disagree, Honorable Speaker, that we decided to look for an expert. And when you look for an expert, I expected that when the expert gives an opinion, we'll go with the opinion of the expert and not subjecting the same opinion of expert to non-experts, who is ourselves senators, Honorable Speaker. I thought that is, I don't agree with that. Honorable Speaker, the 2010 Constitution, some of us opposed it, because we said there was 20% of that constitution that required to be refined, and we have a referendum at a later date. But the country at that time said we move on, and we fought. And we fought, Honorable Speaker, knowing very well that there was a 20% of the constitution that required some amendments. And 12 years or 14 years later on, Honorable Speaker, 15 years, we have not amended the constitution. And there are some flaws in this particular constitution. That's why I agree. When you check this particular county, Honorable Speaker, after election, there were 35 MCS. By the time the impeachment motion in Nyamira County, Honorable Speaker, there were only 32 MCS in that county assembly. So now the question that we need to look at, as we also look at the Constitution and look at the law that the JLAC have said they have brought to the House, Honorable Speaker, is what is the threshold? Is when we check between 32 and 35, the threshold on 32, Honorable Speaker, is 21.3. When you round it up, it's 22, Honorable Speaker. When you divide by 35, it is 23.3, which basically you round to 24. But we know very well, Honorable Speaker, that there were 3 vacancies during the time of voting when the County Assembly of Nyamira impeached the
the Governor of Nyamira, Honorable Speaker. So that's why I agree to some extent until I'm convinced by the senior counsel, Gadwa Giken, that this is a moving target. Honorable Speaker, when we do our general elections, the presidential vote is 50+1. It is 50+1 of the cast vote. It is not on registered votes, Honorable Speaker. The registered votes in this particular case for Nyamira is 35 MCS. But those who, the positions that were filled at this particular time were 32, Honorable Speaker. So I want to convince my colleagues, or I get convinced, that maybe it is good to give them an opportunity, Honorable Speaker, that we go to full hearing, let them convince us that there was no threshold or there is no case. Otherwise, honorable members, it is good also to listen to these people. As the Senator Majority Leader has said, that maybe we need to go back to the summit so that we can engage closely with our MCs. Every 2 years or every 2 years or so, I think we've been having the Senate summit that we engage with the governors, but that's a governors issue, but we have never met. We are likely to go out of this house after 5 years and come back without even having an engagement with our MCs so that we can see how, because we are the oversight. Assemblies are the ones who are oversighting the counties. But where are we meeting? We don't even engage at all, apart from maybe when they come to our committees for benchmarking. Honorable Speaker, I reserve my vote, but I want to say, I think we need an opportunity. We need to hear the full case. And then from there we can decide.
Senator Muma.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'd like to, because I will not be voting, my comment is to just bring some issues that I think are very important to our colleagues. Honorable Speaker, it is not straightforward as to what is the number against which we determine the 2/3. Honorable Speaker, first, we actually have a law on impeachment. The only problem is that that law may not be adequate. And having had devolution for 13 years, we actually need to revise it, given the experience that we have had. Honorable Speaker, Section 33(2) of the County Governments Act says, if a motion under subsection 1 is supported by at least 2/3 of all the members of the county assembly, then the governor will stand impeached. Now, what we need to determine as the Senate is, what does all members mean? Does all members include members who have passed? Does it include the vacancies? And if that is the case, that is straightforward. It simply means the number of all possible seats in any county assembly. But in the case of Nyamira, I think we had one member of parliament, member of assembly who had passed. We had one who had resigned. Is it one or two? One. So we need to determine first the 2/3. Is it against 35 or is it against 33? Or 32, whatever it is. Now, having decided that, the answer becomes straightforward. If it is 35, the threshold was not met. If it comes to 33 or 32, the next question will be, was the threshold met by 19 votes or is it by 23 votes? Now, what is clear before the Senate is that 19 people attended and voted. As to whether the other 4 people who voted by proxy were valid votes is a matter that we cannot decide at this time. It's a matter that you would have to listen to both sides, because one side has contested the validity of those 4 votes. Another side has also given evidence of the validity of those votes. So can we say this is a straightforward matter? In my view, we cannot say so. And because we want to be able to guide and to set the president right, the key issue is when the law says 2/3 of all members. Is it of all members alive? It doesn't say so. Or is it of all members contemplated to be in any county assembly, which means the possible maximum number of members of the county assembly. So as we guide, I would wish that members and the House is able to look at this seriously, because we want to respect the rule of law and we also want to set the correct precedent on this matter.
Senator Mungatana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to also make a comment on this motion. Mr. Speaker, this House must stand for something. And I take it even back to my own family, Mr. Speaker. My late father, everybody knew, his brothers knew, that he would not drink alcohol and he would not tolerate alcohol anywhere near him. Mr. Speaker, I was brought up that way, and I've passed the same message to my sons and daughters. So when they approach me, when they come to my house, they know there are certain things that cannot happen. Mr. Speaker, in law, and I urge this House to accept that we are sitting as a court. In law, there is a principle called stare decisis. Stare decisis means we must stand by what has been held before. And Mr. Speaker, there is vertical stare decisis, where the Supreme Court will have to give direction, and it is followed by the Court of Appeal, by the High Court, all the way to the magistracy. There is also horizontal stare decisis, Mr. Speaker, where now, if the High Court has made a certain holding in any decision, then that court, that decision, and that court at the horizontal level will continue to be held as a position unless something, Mr. Speaker, changes dramatically, like if society has changed, circumstances have changed totally. I make this argument, Mr. Speaker. Nothing has changed since we said this Senate said that the two-thirds, and the two-thirds must be complete. Two-thirds. Nothing has changed. And when we said that we cannot proceed on a matter where it is so clear that the law has been laid out on that matter, when we say that it is so clear that there is a preliminary objection, Mr. Speaker, we have said it in this House. And nothing has changed from the time that we made the decisions on Kericho 1. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleading with this House that as father, these senators are father to all the county assemblies who are looking up to us. If they know that there must be clarity on the two-thirds, if they know this is what the Senate said yesterday, then they know it will say the same thing tomorrow. Then they know it will say the same thing the next day, unless something fundamentally changes. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to say, let us vote to finish with this matter, because the numbers were not attained. Mr. Speaker, a principle is a principle. Whether we like it or not, this is how society is built. This is how certainty is upheld. And this is how we create a society that can grow, Mr. Speaker. On the question whether the vacancies created will make the number of 35 to go down, Mr. Speaker, I wanted to ask, sincerely from the bottom of my heart, the day we were impeaching the deputy president here, if for any reason, Mr. Speaker, some members were out, would we have really voted to move the target from the delegation of 24? Mr. Speaker, these arguments can be good arguments because maybe the lawyers have clients to please. But, Mr. Speaker, in reality, can you impeach a president? If the articles of impeachment came here and we are supposed to impeach a president or a deputy president, and we say, oh, 4 of us are absent, so let us reduce the threshold. Surely will even Kenyans understand us? So, Mr. Speaker, there's no moving target. The number was 35. I'm not persuaded by those arguments. I'm asking and pleading with this House, let us be predictable. Let us stand by what we have said. It may not be popular right now, may not be maybe even what you want, but a principle is a principle.
Senator Kajwang.
Mr. Speaker, in mathematics, there is what we call a vulgar fraction. It is a vulgar fraction because there's a number at the bottom and a number at the top. The number at the bottom is a denominator, and the number at the top is an enumerator. And just like other vulgarities in real life, Mr. Speaker, the number at the bottom is very powerful because it represents the entire population. The question for us to consider today, in this vulgar fraction of Nyamira, what is the denominator? What is the total population of members of county assembly to whom the percentages and fractions can be applied? Mr. Speaker, once we sort that out, this situation in Nyamira will no longer be vulgar. It will be pretty clear on whether we can proceed or not. Senator Boni Khalwale raised a very important example. When our brother Cheptumo was away, the threshold, the 50% threshold remained 24. It introduced to 23. There was a time, Mr. Speaker, when we were cooking up some motion to push you to declare our side, the majority side. The time when Wetangula resigned to be the Speaker of the National Assembly, the time that Murkomen left to join the cabinet, and Soipan Tuya. And when we looked at the maths and whatever had been lodged with the registrar of political parties, it would appear that our side, therefore, at that instant, was a majority side. But then we talked to legal experts, they told us that the denominator, that number at the bottom, must be 67, and it is not a moving target. Mr. Speaker, there was a time also in this House when we were passing the Electoral Laws Amendment Bill. It was very contentious. We only needed one vote. And I thank God, Mr. Speaker, that the government did not resort to trying to play around. But that vote was from the Kisii delegation. Then the senator was Senator Chris Obure. But there was a member of that delegation called Senator Jose Onchwangi. He was sought and found somewhere in River Road, and he came to this house panting, and he cast a vote, and the election amendment laws were passed. When we were fighting over the formula in the last parliament, Mr. Speaker, it would have been easy for the government to reduce the denominator so that the 2/3 could be achieved. But they realized that that was going to be dangerous. And so the government of the day resorted to intimidation of Senators Lelegwe, Senators Lagat, and Senator Malala, even though Senator Malala was a willing accomplice. Mr. Speaker, if we can sort out this thing of denominator, we will have clarity. But there is a problem in Nyamira, which we must agree on, even as we discuss this PO. This is not the first time we are debating a matter with regards to Nyamira on the floor of this House, be it in the Devolution Committee, be it the Public Accounts Committee. And we also take judicial notice, Mr. Speaker, that there have been several attempts to have this motion come to this House. Whereas I congratulate the members of the County Assembly, whichever direction this matter will take, for playing their oversight role, but we must also call them out. The County Assembly of Nyamira is split right in the middle. The people of Nyamira are not getting the services that they deserve. Nyamira County, sitting in the league of counties, will be at the bottom. While other counties are making progress, they are busy in fighting. Mr. Speaker, this Senate will stand for the Constitution, will protect the weak, and will make sure that we provide justice to everybody. But Mr. Speaker, looking at the conversation and perhaps even the public interest in this matter, I will perhaps invite you to consider invoking Standing Order number 66.3 on deferring putting the question until a later time. I mean, the standing order allows you. There's nothing that says that this motion must be voted upon at this present moment, because Standing Order 66.3 provides that option. Because, Mr. Speaker, I would like us to expose these people who are swearing false affidavits. It is becoming a problem. Impeachment after impeachment, people come here and disown the affidavits. The only way to catch them is to proceed into full trial and ensure that someone is taken into custody for perjury. Mr. Speaker, I submit.
Senator Mrango.
Asante sana Mr. Speaker kwa kunipa nafasi ili niweze kuchangia katika mswada muhimu ulio mbele yetu. Mr. Speaker, maisha yangu ya awali nilikuwa mwakilishi wadi. Na sana nilikuwa kiongozi wa wengi katika bunge la Kirinyaga. Na nilihusika pakubwa kumng'oa Gavana ambaye alikuwa kwa wakati huo. Mr. Speaker, kitu ambacho ningetaka kusema kwanza, kumfikisha Gavana ili anjibu mashtaka katika bunge la Seneti kupitia wakilishi wadi ni jambo moja ngumu sana. Ni jambo msaragambo. Mahali Mr. Speaker inafika hata maisha ya wakilishi wadi inakuanga katika hatari, Mr. Speaker. Lakini Mr. Speaker, nimesikia tukiongea sana kuongea mambo ya dhurudhi mbili ya wale ambao wanafaa kupiga kura ili kumng'oa Gavana. Lakini Mr. Speaker, hii dhurudhi mbili ni ya nini? Ni kuni, ni wanyama ama ni watu? Kama dhurudhi mbili ambayo inahitajika ni wakilishi wadi ambao ni watu, hivyo ni kusema ni wakilishi wadi ambao walikuwa wamechaguliwa. Kama hawakuwa basi wangehusika, kwa sababu wale hawaku wakilishi wadi, kwa sababu ndio kuwa mwakilishi wadi lazima ukuje uchaguliwe na uwe upewe kiapo, Mr. Speaker. Na Mr. Speaker, mimi naona kama Mr. Speaker, tukisema kwamba mbunge la gatuzi la Kisii lilikosea ama limekosea, itakuwa ni sawia na na bata wote huarisha, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, ningetaka niseme kitu kingine, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, tunapochangia jambo kama hili na kusema kwamba linafaa ama linawiana na tunaongea mambo ya Kericho, wakilishi wadi ambao walikuwa wamehusika wote walikuweko, hakuna hata moja alikuwa anakosekana. Na tulikuja tukang'amua mbivu na mbichi, kwa sababu tuliwaita wataalamu wakaweza pia kutuelezea kwa undani. Na kwa sababu Mr. Speaker, tukisema kwamba tufanye uamuzi dakika hii bila kusikiza na tujue pia kuliendelea namna gani, naona ni kama haki itakuwa haijatendeka, Mr. Speaker. Kwa hivyo nilikuwa nakuomba Mr. Speaker kwamba kama inawezekana jambo lililo mbele yetu likuje baada ya kusikiza pande zote mbili ili tuweze kuwa na uwiano, itakuwa ni nzuri zaidi, Mr. Speaker. Na niseme uamuzi ambao tutafanya siku ya leo utakuwa ni uamuzi wa maseneta wote ambao katika bunge la Seneti, kwa sababu Mr. Speaker, katika msako wa nyani ngedere hawezi kuepa. Kwa hivyo tukifanya uamuzi ambao tunafanya siku ya leo, ni vizuri tuhakikishe kwamba haki imetendeka katika wakilishi wadi wa kutoka eneo la Nyamira na pia kwa Gavana ambaye ametoka katika eneo la Nyamira. Nikimalizia Mr. Speaker, ni kwamba ni kweli kumekuwa na mambo mengi ambayo ilikuwa inaendelea katika gatuzi la Nyamira. Na tukisema ya kwamba leo ambao tuko nao tuwanyime nafasi pia kuwasikiza, tutakuwa tumekosea. Na kama pia tutakuwa tunafanya uamuzi ambao unafanya wakilishi wadi wasikie kama wanachukuliwa kwa urahisi kama bei ya chumvi, itakuwa ni rahisi sana kwamba kwa siku zijazo hata kama Gavana atakuwa amekosea, tutakuwa tayari tumewavunja moyo na watachukua hatua ambayo wamepewa kikatiba ya kuleta Gavana hapa tuweze kusikiza na kuona na kung'amua mbivu na bichi, Mr. Speaker. Kwa hivyo Mr. Speaker, mimi naomba jambo moja tu, ikiwezekana kwa nguvu ulizopewa, kwa sababu konazo mstahiki Speaker na una uwezo, ili swala tulishughulikie likiwa la mwisho, ili tupate nafasi ya kila mtu kusikiza na kung'amua. Itakuwa ni rahisi mstahiki Speaker. Na kama mstahiki Speaker hiyo haitawezekana, mimi kama seneta wa Kirinyaga sina budi kupinga, kwa sababu sitakuwa nimeridhishwa na yale matamshi ambayo nimeyasikia hapa siku ya leo. Najua mstahiki Speaker, katika siku tulio nazo siku hizi, katika siku hizi tuko, mstahiki Speaker, ni ngumu sana kumshawishi mbwa kwamba asali ni tamu kushinda mfupa. Na kwa hivyo nitaachia mstahiki Speaker.
Senator Omtata.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for the opportunity to comment on this motion. Mr. Speaker, I want to begin by associating myself with what Senator Osoti said, that we run the risk of the House putting this motion to a vote, and if it votes to defeat the PO, which for practical purposes is turning out to be an application, not a pure PO, because if you listen to the County Assembly, they disputed the facts that required a hearing. Much as we may not agree, what I look at, Mr. Speaker, there are two issues which are being conflated. There's the question of quorum. When is a house quorate to conduct business? And there's a house of threshold when voting. So the question of what vacancies can only affect a quorum of a house. In a situation whereby, assuming somebody, we are living in days when people are being abducted. If we had a serious motion on the floor of this house and half the house was 24 senators were abducted and 23 that remained, they will still have the quorum to conduct business, the 23, but the threshold that there should be a supermajority, which would require 33 senators, would have that motion automatically defeated. So I think we have confused the question of quorum and the question of the threshold to be achieved. And where there's no requirement for a supermajority, like in this House, 15 senators would sit and transact business, because the quorum for this House is 15 senators. If it's the National Assembly, the quorum is 50 MPs, members of the National Assembly. They would sit and transact business. But when there is a requirement for a supermajority, it's a supermajority of the whole House. Doesn't matter whether there's a seat that is vacant or not. And even if you go to the law and the interpretation of statutes and stuff, you'll find that a vacancy on a board or a vacancy in a house, for as long as that vacancy does not affect the quorum, that house is quorate to conduct business. The challenge of the quorate house now is to realize the threshold for passing a motion. And if you look at our constitution article, I think it's Article 121, addresses quorum. Article 122 addresses threshold. And I believe that for us to be able to ventilate this question very well, I would associate myself with Senator Osoti to request that the current motion, which is really putting us in a straitjacket, be withdrawn, and we be allowed to ventilate this thing the way we did in Kericho 2, whereby we hear the entire motion and then the PO is placed after people have understood the issue. Then we vote first on the PO, and if it is sustained, the governor is acquitted. If it is defeated, then we go and vote on the individual, on the merits of the impeachment. But right now we run the risk of the PO being thrown out. Listen to the mood of the House, we discuss, we talk. PO being thrown out, and then we shall be subsumed, we shall be forced to go into that motion and then vote without consideration of whether the thresholds required for the motion to be in this House to give us jurisdiction to address that motion was there or not. It is slightly dicey, and I'll be praying, Mr. Speaker, that either we amend this motion or we withdraw it and redraft it, because given the straitjacket I find myself in, I'm persuaded to defeat the motion, yet
whether they actually signed on behalf of the MCA and whether that was available to those members of county assembly. Honorable Speaker, that's why I joined my colleagues who have insisted that the putting of the question, just like in the case of Kericho County impeachment proceedings, that putting of that question must be deferred until that evidence is scrutinized by the senators, so that the people of Nyamira also feel and know that Senate has listened to both sides. Honorable Speaker, the principles of fair trial demands that both parties be guaranteed a right of being heard. Some of these issues, if they are swept under the carpet in such serious proceedings, which are going to the permanent record of this House, how will Senate explain itself later that these issues have been canvassed, have been considered, members have then determined after listening through to all the evidence that is available? So, Honorable Speaker, I would oppose this motion and beg that because we created a precedent using the impeachment proceedings from Kericho County against the current Kericho governor, we follow and abide to the same precedent, pend and defer the putting of the question in line with Standing Order 66.3 and allow this matter to be heard so that we can then determine whether the threshold was met or whether the threshold was not met. And I want to agree with my colleagues who have insisted that the 2/3 threshold cannot be a moving target. That 2/3 threshold, if the Assembly chooses to conduct proceedings, impeachment proceedings, when 3 seats are vacant, it behoves on them then to really make sure they get the support of those who are available within the House, if it's the 32, to still meet the constitutional threshold. Because if you will notice, Honorable Speaker, that threshold has not been given exceptions. So if it is a moving target, how then will you be determining that threshold? Does it mean if members are in the Iala games and we have impeachment?
Senator Faki.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii kuchangia hoja ya kuondoa mashtaka yanayomkabili Gavana wa Nyamira kupitia kwa pingamizi ya kimsingi. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwamba kwanza ningejiunga na wenzangu kusema kwamba mswada huu ambao umeletwa na kiongozi wa wengi umetuweka sisi katika njia panda, kwa sababu japokuwa alisema kwamba tayari tumeweza kuweka historia ama precedent kuhusiana na masuala haya, ameweza kuikiuka historia hiyo kwa kuleta mswada ambao iwapo tutautupa, ina maana kwamba tutaweza kwenda mbele bandua mamlakani Gavana Amos Nyaribo. Kwa Mheshimiwa Spika, mswada huu kwanza una makosa, na ningekubaliana na Senator Omtata, Senator Usosi kwamba mswada huu unatakana kufanywa marekebisho, ama sivyo basi utumie mamlaka yako kama Spika kupitia kanuni namba 66(3) kwa swala la kupigia kura mswada huu liwekwe mpaka mwisho baada ya kusikiza kesi hii. Mheshimiwa Spika, jambo la pili ni kwamba kuna mambo ambayo yamezungumzwa hapa na pande zote mbili, ambapo mambo yale yatahitajia ushahidi. Kwa mfano, kumeambiwa kwamba kuna viapo vya wabunge 4 wa kaunti ya Nyamira.
Senator Kavindu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. This motion, to me, is a bit complicated because the threshold was not met according to the numbers that has been given. We are given 35 MCRs, and 24 would have voted if they met the threshold. But then we didn't get that number. Mr. Speaker, I know there are issues according to how the issues were read. There are issues at Nyamira. But Mr. Speaker, if we go ahead and listen, like some of us have said, if we go ahead and listen to this matter, and then we find the governor guilty at the end, and we've not dealt with this, what will happen? Will we impeach the governor without the MCRs meeting the threshold? Mr. Speaker, I would say that if the County Assembly has a case, they should, because with the 32 members of County Assembly, they would have still gotten the 24, which is the threshold of the MCRs to impeach the governor. I think so that we don't repeat the same mistake that was done in this House by impeaching Waitito and Songo without meeting the threshold because of some pressure from somewhere, like the majority has said. We should be very clear in what we are doing in this House and let them go back and bring the threshold that is needed. I support this motion, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mofire.
Honorable Speaker, from the onset, I want to oppose the motion. I'm opposing the motion, Honorable Speaker. You know, we Kenyans around this House with very high esteem. The Senate has been described as one of the most sober houses for the last few years that I've been around. We have gained a lot of respect across the country, even internationally. Honorable Speaker, we are the Ghanaians. We are people who are supposed now to check on devolution, especially to our young brothers in the county assemblies. Honorable Speaker, I don't want to, as I said, to create a precedent which could be a bit untidy, where we seem to be stumbling block for the county assemblies to process their oversight responsibilities in the respective county assemblies. If you look at some of these allegations that have been leveled against the governor, some of them are so gross, and it will be very unfortunate for us as a House to terminate the hearing of the entire process at this stage, because, Honorable Speaker, as much as we know, impeachment comes along with very many casualties. It's a lifetime issue that can kill somebody's career. But at the same time, Honorable Speaker, we as the custodians of devolution, we must be very, very, very much alert to make sure that we are not condemned, we are not being pushed into regarded as a stumbling block to devolution and to checking on the oversight. So, Honorable Speaker, I would suggest that we put to hold to the voting of this motion before us until we investigate the allegations, because I've just captured there are some allegations that some people saw and they never vote. We need to even have a document examiner. We need to have an expert to verify whether those allegations that have been brought by those who allege that they never voted are true. Because, Honorable Speaker, we have processed 3 POs here. If you listen to Isiro now, and then so many other counties that we have done, we must be very clear on what you are doing, Honorable Speaker. Let us be very, 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 very frank. Let's be very sincere. Let's be very bold on both sides, because we also need to protect the career of the governor. We also need to protect the oversight and responsibility of the county assemblies across the country. So, Honorable Speaker, from the onset, I oppose the motion.
Senator Shakila Abdallah.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika. Mimi pia nasimama kupinga mswada huu. Mheshimiwa Spika, hili jumba tumeletewa kesi hii ni ya 3 sasa. Tukiitupa ya kwanza ikiwa Isiolo, Kericho na hii tunataka kuzitupa ama tumezitupa kwa vigezo za vizingiti. Ambapo vizingiti zinapigiwa kura yake na kesi zinapigiwa kura yake. Kwa nini tusisikilize hii kesi? Tukahakikisha tumewapatia haki watu wa Nyamira. Wamejihisi kwamba wamesikilizwa na wamepata haki. Kuliko kusema tuitupe hii kesi kwa vigezo za vizingiti kabla kesi haijasikizwa. Na imekuwa ni mtindo hapa sasa, ni kama itaendelea kuwa mtindo, ni mara ya 3 sasa, hii ni kesi ya 3. Tunaitupa kwa vigezo za vizingiti bila kusikiliza kesi zenyewe ambazo kwamba watu wako na issues huko mashinani ambao kwamba imewafanya walete hizo issue hapa Seneti. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi ningeomba, kwa sababu hata kwa mfano ikiwa ni hiyo ndio mtindo, magavana wanaweza kuwanunua wale ma MCA ambao wamepiga kura kuambia semeni hamukupiga ama kitu chochote kifanyike, ili tu wakijua hicho ndicho kigezo kitakuja kuwaokoa hapa. Lakini wakijua hicho kigezo hakitawaokoa hapa, kesi itasikizwa, basi itakuwa ni lazima kesi isikizwe na haki ipatikane kwa ile county husika. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi naomba hii kesi isikilize mpaka mwisho, watu wa Nyamira wapate haki yao, na isiwe ni mtindo wa kuweza kutupwa kesi zikiletwa hapa za impeachment kwa vigezo za vizingiti. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Senator Chute.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, allow me to say a few things here. Number one, I want to support this motion, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, when I came to this house the first time, I was told this is House of Records. And Honorable Speaker, if we are going to follow the records, House of Records means if we do something today, tomorrow, we don't need to change our minds. And when I see my fellow senators in Kericho 1 and 2, we looked at the evidence, the threshold, and the threshold was not there. That even the majority leader was here, he was not happy when we said they must go back and meet the threshold. Our majority leader was not happy with us. But we said we must follow the law. Honorable Speaker, I really don't understand. When just some months ago, we looked at the issue of Kericho, and we said, please go and meet the threshold and come back here. It is not the responsibility of this House to add them 2 or 3 persons so that they can meet the threshold. No, this is not our job. Go and do your work. We are not going to do this work for you. Don't come to our door here bringing unfinished product to us. Bring finished product here. We'll listen. We'll look at the evidence and make a suggestion and decide. Honorable Speaker, I'm not a lawyer. Sometimes when these 2 lawyers are talking, we get confused. Who is saying what? But then, the issue is very simple mathematics. Very simple. Even class 1 student can do those mathematics. And as a Senate, we need to tell the National Assemblies, please don't bring issues and finished product to these county assemblies, to this House. And the people out there will see will look at us and say, oh, in Kericho 1 and 2, they've asked the governor to go back and ask the county assembly to do their work. And if we change today, we say this must continue, then what is the issue? What is the purpose of having House of Records here? Honorable Speaker, finally, county assemblies are bringing cases here. And we, like in some instances, we sit in this house up to midnight. And, Honorable Speaker, it is tiring and exhausting. What we need to do is tell these guys, the MCS, please, don't bring things here and think that we are going to listen or look at something that has not met the threshold and sit here and waste our time. We don't want to waste our time in this house. Please, finally, I want to say, go back, do your homework well. You can come back even after a week. That's not a big issue. You can come even after 6 months. That's not a big issue. But don't crucify someone because you have issues with that person. And don't use this house to crucify someone without meeting the threshold. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Clerks, if senators can kindly remove their names from my dashboard, because my dashboard is still very much clogged. And I can see names of honorable senators who've actually contributed. Yes, Senator Kamau.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nasimama kupinga mswada huu. Na nimesimama kupinga kwa sababu Mheshimiwa Spika, wakati kunapotokea fursa katika mabunge yetu, kuanzia bunge la magatuzi ya county kama county assemblies, senate ama national assembly, kukitokea nafasi either mtu ameweza kufariki ama pengine kujiuzuru, Mheshimiwa Spika, unachukua fursa ya kutangaza na kusema kwamba kiti hicho hakina mwenyewe. Kwa Kiingereza ama kwa lugha ya Kiingereza tunasema the seat is vacant. Mheshimiwa Spika, katika mswada ama katika impeachment ambayo iko mbele zetu, tuko na habari ya kwamba watu watatu, Mheshimiwa Spika, hawakuhusika katika upigaji wa kura, kwa kupitia njia ya kwamba mmoja wao aliweza kuaga dunia na wengine wawili, mmoja akaresign na mwingine akatolewa kupitia kwa njia ya koti. Mheshimiwa Spika, hatuwezi kulazimisha tuseme ya kwamba ni lazima wangepiga kura wabunge 35. Mheshimiwa Spika, watu wa Nyamira wanataka haki. Kuna mambo ambayo imeorodheshwa kwamba gavana amefanya kinyume na cha sheria. Mheshimiwa Spika, tungependa bunge hili la Senate liweze kuyasikiza mambo hayo kwa sababu yanahusiana sana na mambo ya watu wa Nyamira. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna mambo ambayo county assembly imeona kwamba gavana amefanya kinyume. Naye gavana akona mambo anasema kwamba mimi sijafanya kinyume. So haki kufanyia haki ama haki kutendeka kwa watu wa Nyamira ni tuhakikisha kwamba bunge la Seneti limeweza kusikiliza mahitaji na kilio cha watu wa Nyamira. Tunapoongea Mheshimiwa Spika, watu wa Nyamira hawapati maendeleo. County Assembly ya Nyamira imetuletea sisi kama majaji tuweze kuamua na kuona kwamba huyu gavana amefanya makosa. Tukimrudisha na makosa hayo Mheshimiwa Spika, watu wa Nyamira wataendelea kupata shida. So mimi naunga mkono kwamba Mheshimiwa Spika, tuendelee tusikize hii kesi ili tupatie watu wa Nyamira haki yao. Wacha gavana atuambie ni yapi hakufanya makosa. County Assembly ituambie gavana ni makosa gani alifanya. Mheshimiwa Spika, katika njia hiyo tutakuwa tunafanya haki na tutaingia katika vitambu vya kumbukumbu kwamba Seneti hili, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni Seneti ya haki na inalinda ugatuzi. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna jambo ambalo limejitokeza hapa ya kwamba kuna watu wengine waliandika affidavit ya kusema kwamba wapigiwe kura na wenzao. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nilikuwa mwakilishi ward katika kaunti ambayo nimetoka ya Lamu. Na Mheshimiwa Spika, hiyo sio jambo ngeni, yanafanyika. Mheshimiwa Spika, sisi katika Seneti hii ndio tunatuma pesa mashinani, na yale yanayotendeka huko mashinani, Mheshimiwa Spika, hatuletewi wakati yanafanyika kulingana na vile ambavyo wao wanataka, lakini leo hii wametuletea kwa sababu imefanyika kinyume na vile ambavyo wangehitaji wao yafanyike. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nachukua nafasi hii kuwarai wabunge wa Seneti hili ya kwamba, Mheshimiwa Spika, tufanye haki kwa watu wa Nyamira. Sisi tulichukua kiapo hapa kwamba tutalinda katiba na kuizingatia. Kwa hivyo njia moja ya katiba ya kazi ambayo sisi tumepewa ni ya kupeleka pesa katika gatuzi zetu 47. Na Mheshimiwa Spika, tukipeleka hizo pesa katika gatuzi zetu 47, tuhakikishe zimefanyia wale wananchi kazi. Na kwa sasa Nyamira hakuna kazi inaendelea. Mheshimiwa Spika, wacha tuende full hearing, tusikize matatizo ambayo watu wa Nyamira wanaikumba ama wanapitia. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Senator Miraj Abdirai.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi niweze kutoa changizo zangu katika hoja ambayo imewasilishwa na kiongozi wa walio wengi katika bunge hili la Seneti. Niweze kusema ya kwamba napinga vikali kusimamishwa kwa kusikilizwa kwa hoja hii ya kumtimua madarakani gavana wa Nyamira. Kwa sababu haiwezekani Mheshimiwa Spika ya kwamba ma-MCA wetu wanajizatiti kuona ya kwamba wanafanya haki zao za kikatiba ya kuweza kuona ya kwamba haki inatendeka katika gatuzi yao, alafu inapofika katika bunge la Seneti tuwe sisi tunatumia vizingiti kukwamisha juhudi ambazo ma-MCA wamefanya kule mashinani. Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka ieleweke ya kwamba bunge hili la Seneti linakaa kutetea hoja na haki na kusimamia katiba yetu ya Kenya. Ndiposa nasema kama tulivyofanya awali, kwa sababu sisi wajumbe wa kuteuliwa na vyama vya kisiasa hatuna kura kujieleza kusema kwamba ndio makosa yameonekana ama hayakuonekana. Ni vyema basi na sisi tuweze kusikiza mashtaka yaliyosomwa. Na kwa kusema ukweli Bwana Spika, tangu nianze kukaa katika bunge hili mwaka wa 2022 sijawahi kusikia mashtaka yamesomwa mingi kama yale ambayo yamesomwa leo na gatuzi ya Nyamira. Ni dhahiri shahiri ya kwamba sisi ni wananchi ambao tunatunga sheria ili ziwe muongozo na sio tofauti ya hivyo. Haiwezekani ya kwamba kila siku tutakuwa tunawacha kusikiliza malalamishi ambayo yametoka kwa wananchi kupitia wawakilishi wadi wao kusema ya kwamba hapa kuna threshold haijakamilika. Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka niungane na viongozi wenzangu maseneta kusema ya kwamba ipo haja ya bunge la Seneti kusikiza kiukamilifu malalamishi yaliyoletwa na bunge la Nyamira ili tuweze kung'amua ni lipi baya na lipi zuri, na endapo ipo haja huko mbeleni basi tuweze kuamua ya kwamba kama threshold walifikisha ama hawakufikisha. Lakini itakuwa goji kiriba goji kila siku ma MCA ward. Ukiangalia Bwana Spika, gatuzi zetu 6 kutoka pwani, ma MCA wetu wameogopa hata kubuni motion ya kuleta magavana hapa kwa sababu wana hofu, kwa sababu wakati wewe kama mwakilishi wadi umehusika katika kuimpeach ama kumuondosha madarakani gavana, kunakuwa na matatizo mingi ambayo unapitia katika mabunge yale. Kwa hivyo ningeomba, mimi nikishirikiana na wajumbe ambao wameongea mbeleni, ya kwamba ningependa kusikiliza mashtaka ndio ili gavana aweze kujitetea au la. Asante Bwana Spika.
Senator Maruma Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to comment on the PO by the county executive or the governor. And we are given an opportunity to interpret the law and the standing orders of Nyamira County Assembly. On the first limb, Mr. Speaker, the standing order 62(7) states that motion passes by 2/3 of all the members of the County Assembly. Now, what we are called to determine as Senate, Mr. Speaker, is what it means by all the members of the County Assembly. If today, Mr. Speaker, you're told, bring all the members of the County Assembly during the day of voting, you would bring 35 or 32. My view is you would bring 32 members because 3 were not there. Therefore, the threshold would be 2/3 of 32, Mr. Speaker. And we have dealt with the issue of decimals in dealing with the impeachment of Kericho. That when you have decimals, then you cannot have 1/3 of a human, then you round up. I heard Senator Cherargei saying that we truncate. As a student of mathematics, Mr. Speaker, truncation means something very different, that we do away with that decimal part. But here, we are told that because you cannot have a decimal of a person, then we round up to the nearest human being. So if we had 35 people, Mr. Speaker, then 2/3 would be 23.33. Rounding up would get 24. But there is nowhere, Mr. Speaker, in the statute and in the standing orders where we have that magic number 24 explicitly stated. It is not there. So, Mr. Speaker, my view and my interpretation is that it is 2/3 of the members of the County Assembly at the time of voting, and that time they were 32. The next limb of this PO, Mr. Speaker, is to determine whether or not it is allowable or completely disallowed to vote through proxy. Mr. Speaker, I've had arguments here that we have never voted through proxy in this House. In the last Parliament, while voting, I can't remember for which standing committee, we were allowed to vote by proxy. Members who were absent wrote letters and indicated how they wanted to vote for particular chairs and vice chairs of standing committees. So if it happened, then that precedence was set, Mr. Speaker. I would like to say, lastly, for want of a clear law on impeachment of governors, deputy governors, and other state officers, then let us listen to the second limb, especially whether or not the standing orders of the County Assembly of Nyamira and the relevant statutes and the Constitution completely disallow voting by proxy. When we listen to the whole motion, and also we try and see if you can subsume this second part, then you can be able to make a clear, we can be able to have a clear vision, a clear view of this matter and make our decision. But Mr. Speaker, I'm extremely clear that the threshold was met, the 2/3 threshold was met, and so I oppose this motion, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.